Good morning. Thank you, Butler Capital Group number 2, for joining us today. Many of you, this is probably the first time you've seen my face, but this is me. I'm Missy McCall, and I wanted to do this update today to kind of help us walk through what we're doing during the pandemic and everything we're doing in our business, so you have a good idea of what is and isn't going on. We'll take about 15 minutes to do this, and then we'll do question and answer until everybody has their questions answered. There is, to the right of your screen, there's a chat room or a chat area that says questions, where you can just type in questions, and when we're finished with the presentation, we'll go in. Myra will read those for us, and then we'll answer questions until everyone is comfortable. Again, I'm Missy McCall, and I sure appreciate everything you've done to help our business be successful, because you have. Our mission statement is to provide happy, joyous homes. And in addition to just talking about the numbers, I want to go through and kind of show you everything we're doing with the fund and the properties that you're funding. So Bill Denherter and I have been working together for probably 16 or 17 years now, if not longer. And from that time, there was Butler Capital Group, second edition, and just lots of private funds. Bill really helped me in the beginning to learn how to use private funds, and then we've just kind of grown it like crazy. Butler Capital Group, second edition, has funded for 818 properties, a total of $53.2 million. Butler Capital Group 1 has funded 138 and had a total of $9.1 million in sales. And I've left Bill and my email address below. We'll show the screen at the end so you don't have to hurry up and write it down. But it's kind of amazing. We have done all of that and never missed any payments anywhere. So I hope that gives you a lot of confidence, even with all the crazy that's going on, that this is very helpful. Second edition today is a private placement fund that has $2.3 million in it. The total monthly payment is about $19,745. When a property is complete, we immediately rent it, so that if the property doesn't close immediately, then the house is already generating income. The $2.3 million fund has a monthly payment that we make to it, because our companies are also the borrowers. That $19,000 payment is already covered. We've already covered $11,600 of it, because we have those properties already rented. We have 46 of the homes that you have loans on today already sale pending. Now, we have had 1 or 2 sales drop in the last 10 days, and it's actually only one that did not close, and they actually just moved to another property that they felt more comfortable with. So as those houses sell, the rent goes up. As we sell them, the money goes back into the fund, and then we rinse and repeat. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again. I wanted to tell you more about our company so you could really see what your funds are doing and how we're reacting to the pandemic. So although there's things popping up on my screen, did it pop up on yours? That's good. Mara's over here watching too, so she can make sure I don't do something wrong. I can't get my mouse to move now. I can't go to the next slide. There we go. So we take properties that are distressed, fix them up, sell them to investors, and then rent them to tenants. This is about a $240,000 house on Cottingham in Westchester. You can see it really wasn't very pretty. But then when it was done, it really was. So this house had been abandoned and was full of mold. We do mold remediation according to the EPA guidelines. We ozone, air scrub the anything that's not removed with a moldicide, then seal it with a oil-based kills, which also has a moldicide in it. Then we go through testing to make sure the mold is all dead and it's reached normal levels. And then we go on and finish rehabbing the home. And this is what the house on Cottingham looked like when it was complete. It was really, really a beautiful home. This is a more moderate home on Garden Avenue. I have to tell you, the contractor put the wrong color on the bottom. We would never do anything that hideous on purpose. However, it was winter, so we're going to repaint the bottom with our traditional gray at the bottom. But you can see it went from being covered with trees on top of it, which is not good for the roof, to a really beautiful home that rented immediately, even before we were able to sell the home. These are some of the before and afters. You can see that the homeowner tried to make some improvements, but they were not really successful. And afterwards, it really became a beautiful home. This is an example of our new construction homes. This is something we started 3 years ago. This home is located in Glendale, Ohio, which is a more prestigious part of the city, north of the city. Our new construction homes, we're building probably 45 this year. We built, I think, 36 last year, and we've just kind of progressed, learned how to do it better, add volume. But these are what are called build to rent homes. We're not selling them on the retail market because the economy has been so booming. People don't necessarily want to buy, and there's a huge appetite for investors to own new construction homes. So we are build to rent. We really don't sell to the open public. The same thing with our rental properties. This is what our new construction homes look like when they're complete. They probably look a lot like our rehab houses, because the one thing we have learned is we set a template and we do the same thing over and over again. I can remember when I first started, I sent a contractor to paint the front door of a house. I asked him to paint it yellow, thinking he would pick lemon yellow, chiffon yellow. He painted it school bus yellow. So we've taken choices on colors away from our contractors so that we don't have to repaint doors and waste our time. Since the pandemic has happened, we have been really measuring things very closely and trying to tweak our business every day. Investors are still buying. The fund is still a good choice. Last Sunday, we sent out 16 homes. Today, we've sold 14 of those in about 6 hours. So investors know that interest rates are historically low. We haven't seen interest rates this low even during the recession. It's lower than they've been in 30 years. For you, this is a great opportunity because it's a diversification. It's not stock. And that's the same reason that our owners are still buying. And then finally, remembering your money is being invested in real estate. That's what the fund does. And everyone needs shelter. Maslow's hierarchy, food, clothing, shelter. We're the shelter. I'm pretty excited about that. Next, what are we doing? What is BB Rents, Retire with Real Estate, Dick's Property Management, all the companies that we operate? We're changing every day and sometimes hourly. Our team has a huddle every morning at 9 a.m. That's myself and the 12 managers. We're making changes immediately. We have a scorecard where we're keeping track of our changes and if we've had any adverse effects, or are they doing the things that we need to do. I wanted to let you know this isn't, we used to have a contractor that would say, this isn't my first rodeo, little missy, and it's not mine. So we've been there, done that, and we've adjusted and we know what we need to do. We've been in business last week. It's been 22 years, which is hard for me to believe. We lived through the recession. We lived through 9/11. And here's what happened during that time. Everybody hunkered down and did everything they should have done. Our investors didn't lose properties. Every investor made their payments and we helped them if they needed help. Occupied properties are the key to being successful during the recession. And when I say occupied, because rentals, when a house isn't rented for a month, you never make that money up. So we're making sure ours are the nicest houses on the street. The properties look great from the outside. If we need to drop rents, we're dropping rents, but understand we're a very lineal market, which means, we don't appreciate a lot, we don't depreciate a lot. During the recession, our maximum depreciation of a property was 12%, the average was 8%. And when we dropped rents, the most we ever dropped them was $50 a month. Again, remembering everyone needs shelter, everyone needs a place to live and to stay calm. Remember, the fund is being paid by renting properties, and that's what we're focusing on. We kind of went over that we're busy planning. You've already placed a lot of trust in us, and we ask that you continue that trust. But if you have questions, please forward them immediately. We're not answering as fast as we normally do. Our standard is 24 hours, but understand if I'm not answering you or Bill isn't answering you, it's because we're trying to sell houses and trying to get houses rented, and we're trying to do the critical and essential first. Remember, rent properties being occupied are what's most important to us. We've worked with all of our rehab and new construction teams to make sure that we're eliminating and reducing our days on market. Because of the virus, we're not going into tenants' homes because we feel a responsibility to not allow the tenant to infect our staff or for our staff to infect them when they go from home to home. So the only maintenance we're doing today is something that's life safety or would cause further damage, or on the exterior because we're pretty safe out there right now. So to eliminate days on market and reduce them, we've moved half of our maintenance staff to the re-rents department. Now, when re-rents gets busy again at the first of the month, we'll keep adding staff there. And towards the end of the month, those people are moving to the rehab department so that everyone gets fed, because that's also a company priority, that if we provide your living, that we're able to consistently do that. And then occupied properties are what makes money during the crisis. So that's why we're making all of those changes. Nicest house on the street gets rented. Somehow, in spite of the fact that I don't use GoToWebinar very well, we're using technology to really help us rent our houses. Show Mojo is an electronic lockbox, which is like a smart lockbox. It gets Wi-Fi from the air. You can sign on and go see a property online. You don't have to call us. It gives you a specific time, and when you're a half a mile away from the property, it sends you a one-time use code. It starts interviewing you and asking you questions as you leave the property. Did you like it? Was it in good condition? Would you consider renting it? The next thing we're doing is we've fortunately ordered before Amazon has been almost shut down, because they're very slow to deliver right now, ozone machines. We use ozone machines historically in homes that have mold because it kills mold, virus, and eliminates smell. It does that, Google it, by taking the oxygen, I'll get it out, the oxygen molecule, and breaking it into hydrogen and oxygen. So it becomes peroxide basically in the air, so it's very disinfecting. So from a marketing perspective, we'll be using these in the properties starting next week when they're all finally in, and our managers are using them in the rehab properties and the rental properties. And then from a marketing perspective, we're going to advertise to our potential tenants that we're ozoning the properties before they move in. We're doing everything to do our part. Coming soon properties means that we're advertising the properties 30 to 40 days in advance before they're actually ready. And we process the tenants' applications within 24 hours. And that means if they filled out the application completely, which is kind of rare, that we'll give them an answer within 24 hours. And again, we're able to do that because we're using TransUnion, which is a part of TLO, to help us evaluate that applicant and give them quick answers. We had a scare last week. One of our contractors' sons works at Home Depot. He got a text message saying that Home Depot was closing at 6 p.m. He called me and said they were closing permanently at 6 p.m., which really gave me a heart attack. So we have warehouses where we buy discounted materials. Today, we're setting up with Lowe's and Home Depot, actually warehousing materials in our warehouse, so that we have 30 days of materials that we, even if the stores close, because Ohio is an essential workplace, stay-at-home state right now, that even if the stores close, we have materials to finish our houses, because again, occupied properties are what make money. And believe it or not, we rented 4 properties yesterday, and I think 26 last week, and this next week will be our busiest week of the year. And again, nothing but urgent or important until we're out of crisis as far as maintenance. We're maintaining our team. We have 27 employees and hundreds of contractors. We're doing everything we can to limit their exposure. We're quarantining suites because we have 7 suites in this building. You don't walk around the building. We have a schedule where twice a day an employee is assigned to clean doorknobs, toilet handles, faucets, light switches. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we knew that in California they had closed the schools, and if schools closed, daycares are next. So we set up a daycare in our classroom in our building and have certified teachers that are assisting with that. So we are doing everything we can to keep our contractors, our staff, and everyone working. What are we doing to maintain your investment? Again, renting the moment the home is complete, even if it's not sold, to make sure that we have income coming in for the properties. We are reducing Class A purchases because when the recession hit last time, we kind of saw everyone kind of move down. So our first tenants to move were our C-Class properties. They typically moved in with their parents. B-class properties, which are about 60% of what we rent, moved to C-class properties, and then A-class properties moved to Bs. And then A-class owners sold or lost their homes, and they moved into our A-class purchase properties. In our marketplace, that's someone that's living in a $400,000 or $500,000 house moving into a $200,000 to $250,000 house. So we're reducing the number of purchases and really reserving our A-class properties, pretty limiting them to our new constructions. And then remember, we have reserves and management accounts. So in addition to the money that we collect for rents and the money that's paid, we have reserves in our management accounts to make sure that we can make payments. So those are the kind of things that we're doing right now. We're maintaining your tenants. Friday morning, I was in San Diego at a mastermind, and I heard that the schools were closing, and my first thought was, our children aren't going to be able to be fed. We work closely in our neighborhoods with food pantries and nonprofits, and we gave them links to contact the media. They contacted the newspaper, and one of the food pantries said, "Don't you think this is a little opportunistic?" I said, "How many more people are you going to feed today that you normally don't? Get out there and ask for what you need, because people really do want to help." We've set up a site on our page on our website that's called Urgent Help, that's giving tenants and contractors links to assistance with utilities, free Wi-Fi, food pantries, whatever we can do to help them. So we're not just focusing on selling houses, we're focusing on maintaining our community. Again, by the numbers, with Bill, we've made $2.3 million worth of investments. Our total monthly, that's Butler Capital 2, $2.3 million worth of investments. Total payments is $19,000. Monthly rent just on those properties is $11,000. And again, we have 46 houses still pending, so those houses will be turning over. And we have houses in the pipeline to purchase. We're not going to stop our business as long as people are still continuing to buy. And if they stop buying, we're going to rent the properties to make sure we can meet our obligations. And now I'm finished yapping, and let's see if you have questions. I have one more slide. Oh, that's all of our numbers. So with Bill, we financed 818 properties, which is just crazy. I was so excited. Bill meets with me at least twice a year, most of the time 4 times a year. And when he brought this number last year, I was really just kind of astonished. I had no idea we'd done that much business. Thank you so much, Bill. I'd never be where I'm at today without you, because you've always been a guiding light for me. So let's see if we have any questions.
Let's see. You mentioned that you were considering dropping rents. Can you tell me any more about that strategy?
So if a property is vacant, every 7 to 10 days, and every 7 days for sure, because it's part of our weekly managers meeting, we review days on market. Right now we're reviewing days on market daily. So if a property is set for 7 days and it hasn't rented, then a manager goes out or a photo taker goes out and takes photos. His responsibility is to look at the property. Does it look good? Did somebody do something in the toilet and not flush, and now the whole house stinks? So that we can make sure that the properties are the best. Then we look at our marketing information. Because of the technology we're using, we know every time someone looks at a property on our website, we know through Show Mojo how many people have looked at it, how many people have scheduled. So if a house isn't getting any activity whatsoever, I think the price is probably too much. But again, we're dropping them $10 a month and then $20 a month. Or we're adding specials. And that's one of the things I'm really, really big on, lowering the barrier to entry a little bit. What that means is instead of a full month's rent, we'll offer them 10 days free, a month free, a week free, whatever it takes to rent the property. We start small and go large.
You mentioned classification of properties. You're going to scale back on the A-class properties. How do you classify properties in our market?
So in the Cincinnati-Dayton market, a C-class property is typically $50,000 to $80,000, maybe $85,000, depending on the neighborhood. It's kind of like the difference between New York City and Buffalo, minus a whole bunch of zeros. A B-class property is 80 to 100, 80 to 120. And an A-class property is anything over 120 or 140, again, depending on the market.
Up to what's our top price point?
Really for rentals, 250 is our top price. And we limit the number of those just because they take a very special clientele, and we focus on the neighborhoods those are in to make sure they're the most desirable.
You mentioned things that you're doing daily with your team, meeting first thing in the morning, follow up with that every day. You mentioned the scorecard, and what is that doing to mitigate crisis at this point?
Well, the scorecard tells us the things that are really important to us. You know, days on market, because we never get those back. We're focusing strongly on, and it's divided into whether it's a re-rent, re-rent, rehab, or new constructions, and then how many days in leasing. So each of those things we're monitoring very closely. We're also looking at staffing, if we need to change it or reduce it or increase it, where we need staffing. Those are the two biggest. And based on what our governor, what the pandemic is doing, what do we need to do in response as a company?
I think that's everything. I don't see any other questions. If anybody's got any.
I've got two.
Okay.
I think I'm seeing a different screen than you are. Are we continuing to travel because of the virus? And the answer is yes. We're doing a lot of webinars. We were actually in California last week, and we're supposed to be going from San Diego to San Francisco to do, and then to LA to do events. They canceled the events and they did a webinar. And much to my surprise, a 3-hour webinar, they had over 800 people on it, and they mostly stayed. I mean, we dropped less than 100 people. So for that length of time, that was really, really a good thing. And Real Wealth Network, which is one of our brokers, did that. We're also the same kind of webinar we're doing with you right now. We've done with our investors. We've done with our tenants. We've done with our contractors. We're trying to over communicate right now because there's a lot of fear, a whole lot of fear. And then, can you sell a house online instead of in person? Absolutely. We do it every Sunday night. Every Sunday night at 9 p.m. we send out, it's 9 p.m. Central or Eastern, so that the California folks have the evening to look at it. But we send out a list every week along with what's kind of happening in our market, and we talk about what our business is doing. And if any of you would like to receive that information, just send me an email. I mean, you don't have to buy houses, but it's definitely good information so you can see what we're doing as a company, because I think in these kind of times it's really important. And then next, are you still taking new investment funds? And the answer is absolutely yes. I'm personally moving to purchasing some small multifamilies. And when I say small, less than 20 units, because we know in certain markets there's a very strong demand for those. And I've been investing in them personally, and now we have investors that would like to buy them. So yes, we are absolutely still taking funds. Bring us your money. Okay. Any other questions? If you have any, please don't hesitate to reach out to Bill and I. Again, you've made an enormous difference in my life and my business, and I want you to know that I'm doing everything I can to be proactive, to communicate, to make sure that we're giving you accurate information. So please don't hesitate to check in with us. And again, I'm very thankful. Have a wonderful day.